Hello everyone. I mentioned in my last video that I had pet rats and somebody commented asking if you could see the rats. So I thought I'd do a video living with rats. I've had rats for a few years now. They have the best, biggest cage, obviously, because all my animals are spoilt. All my rats were rescue rats who had been unwanted. People had bred too many and didn't want them, or people got rats and then decided they didn't want them anymore. So here you can see Fairy walking in through the hallway, and the rats are kept in my open plan kitchen, dining room, lounge, and Fairy shows no interest whatsoever in the cage. At the end of this video, you'll see the rats out with Fairy on the sofa. My first two rats were called Nibbles and John, named by my daughter. Nibbles is the white one and John is the brown one. And they were just the best rats. They are so lovely, very nice natured, never bite, never scratch you or anything. They're just really gentle, lovely animals. They love attention. They love to be held. They're very intelligent. Nibbles would come to his name whenever I called him, and they were free roaming around my house. Nibbles would come running as soon as I called him. He was my favourite ever rat. He was just so lovely. Nibbles would come up and sit with me on the sofa watching telly and snuggle with me. He would try and get into your glass, whatever you were drinking. He would come up and stick his little head over your plate when you were eating. Nibbles and John were just the best. Unfortunately, rats don't live very long, only 2 to 3 years mostly. So Nibbles and John, as they started to get older, started to get ill. John was the first to die, and he had a brain tumour. So he didn't live up to 2 years old. He died just before he was 2, and Nibbles lasted a lot longer. You can see here Nibbles is playing his treat game where he has to lift the lids off to get the treat underneath. He was a very clever rat. You can train rats to play fetch and fetch balls and things like that. They're very intelligent animals, just like mini dogs really. First started noticing John was showing signs of a brain tumour when he kept pushing his head up against things. He was becoming very puffy around his face, and he was having trouble holding his food with his front paws and losing sort of his balance and things like that. I don't like to see animals in pain or in distress or struggling with their lives. And this is John in his last few days, and you can see he doesn't look very well. He is still eating, but his eyes are very puffy. So we decided to put him to sleep before he suffered any more. That left Nibbles on his own, and rats don't like to be on their own. They're very sociable animals and they get depressed. So I rescued Toffee and Popcorn as tiny babies. They were only about 6 weeks old when I got them, as companions for Nibbles. So here's Nibbles with his little babies when we first got them, exploring their house. And here's Toffee free roaming in my DVD cabinet. He's fully grown now. Toffee and Popcorn are still around. We still have Toffee and Popcorn. They're not as friendly as Nibbles and John were. They are a bit more timid because they have red eyes, which means they're slightly blind and they find it hard to see, so they're very skittish. Unfortunately, when Nibbles reached about 2 years, 7 months, he also started showing signs of a brain tumour. I did try, I spent £200 on medication for him, specifically for brain tumours, to try and shrink it. And he was on that for a couple of months, and it did give him a little bit of extra on his life. But he just started becoming he was finding it too difficult to hold his food, and it just didn't look like he was having a good quality of life. So again, I made the decision before he got really bad to put him to sleep. Nibbles and John are now buried in my garden with their own little gravestones, and they have their memorial plaques on the front of our cage. Many people think greyhounds can't live with small fluffy animals, but Fairy is absolutely fine with the rats if you have them out and you're holding them. She's not interested, and she in fact looks a bit wary and a little bit scared of them. We wouldn't let the rats out running around with Fairy in the room. That would not be safe, and Fairy would chase them. But if we're holding them, she's absolutely fine. When the rats have their free roam time and they're running around the house, Fairy goes upstairs, lays on my bed, and is shut upstairs so that the rats can have their free time roaming around on the sofa, on the floor, and there's no danger of Fairy chasing them or treating them like toys. There are many greyhounds that are cat friendly and do live with cats and are seen snuggling up on the sofa with cats. So it is possible to have greyhounds living with other small furry animals. I hope you enjoyed seeing my other animals. Here we go back to fairy videos with some Watch Next playlists for you. Thanks to all my subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and don't forget to turn on your notifications.